Hello and welcome to another episode of Over My Dead Pod. I am your host, Holly Spear.
This is Kate Carter.
And I'm Kylie Colwell.
What does that even mean? Would you just say I'm feeling froggy?
Froggy, I think it means just like weird.
Okay. Holly's feeling froggy.
Okay, I'm cutting that out and I will be editing.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, anyways, today is my episode and I have a crazy little story for you. So I will just hop right in. It's 2015 in Whitesboro, New York, and Mary and Bill Yoder live here with their three adult children. Bill's 68 and Mary is 60. Their three children are Tamarin, Liana, and Adam. And Bill and Mary are both chiropractors and they own their own clinic together. Mary is loved by her patients. Most of them saw her as a friend as well as their doctor. Mary liked to live an active lifestyle, was very important to her. She was very fit and was like still doing triathlons at her age, 60. So, wow.
Probably couldn't do one today. So,
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. She's living like a very holistic lifestyle, and she actually runs a small vitamin business out of the clinic. In her free time, she likes to garden, play music, and even belly dance.
Oh,
Period. And her husband, Bill, he's also very loved. He's a little bit more quiet and more reserved than Mary. And he's also very into like holistic medicine. He even published a book called The Happy Mind: 7 Principles to Clear Your Head and Lift Your Heart. And Bill was described as a very deep and intentional man. This makes sense because Bill actually has a PhD in philosophy, but then he obviously changed his mind in pursuing that career and decided to go to school to be a chiropractor. Bill and Mary are actually married when Bill decided to go to chiropractic school, and Mary just kind of followed him and went with him and thought it would be a good thing for her to do as well. Both graduated from the chiropractic school, and then they opened Chiropractic Family Care Clinic. Soon after they opened the clinic, they started their family with the birth of their daughter, Leanna. 2 years later, Tamarin was born, the Yoder's second daughter. And then 10 years later, Adam was born. So Adam's the baby, and he has two older sisters who are 10 and 12. So as you can guess, they just like adored their little brother. The Yoder family was close, and they're one of those families who genuinely enjoy each other's company. So when Adam grew up, he started helping his mom and dad at their chiropractic clinic. Now, Adam is dating a girl named Katie, and Katie actually ends up working at the chiropractic clinic as the office manager.
were they dating before she started working there?
Yes, they were. So what happened was Adam was kind of working for his parents, and Adam decides to go back to school full time, and Katie kind of picks up the slack where he can't be there.
Okay.
And then she just like really likes it, I think, and she's really good at her job, and she ends up being the office manager. However, Katie and Adam would end up splitting up, but Katie keeps working at the clinic. Katie loved Adam's mom and really admired and looked up to her, and Katie was good at her job, so it just kind of still worked out. The year is 2015, and Bill and Mary have started to settle down and start thinking about retirement. They're in the office less and less. Bill would come into the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Mary would come in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And they'd started to plan their trip to Europe. It was a trip that they've been dreaming about all of their lives. So this is just a random little bit, but one day in July of that year, Mary stopped in to see her sister, Janine. She came unexpectedly, and this was odd because Janine said that Mary had never just shown up to her house. They would oftentimes like have little plans and meet up and talk or, whatever, but it was always like planned. There was never a time other than this that Mary just showed up, but she did at this time. And Janine would say that Mary popped in and then was like, oh, actually, I have to go. So she was kind of acting like she needed to leave really quickly. And Janine said that she remembered thinking that it was really strange because it seemed like Mary wanted to stay and talk about something, like there was something she really needed to say, but maybe she felt too nervous to say it or changed her mind when she got there and just kind of like hurriedly left. And Janine thought that was really, really weird. Fast forward a few days later, Mary would get very sick. Her day started out like any other. She got up and she got ready for work. She had a full day of patients to see at the clinic. But unfortunately, her day was cut short after lunch when she started vomiting and having diarrhea. She was running to the bathroom every few minutes. Mary assumed that she just had food poisoning, maybe something she ate at lunch. Mary went home and went to bed. But Mary's abdominal pain increased and became intolerable within hours. It became so bad that Bill ended up rushing Mary to the nearest hospital that next morning. He called his children and informed them that their mother had suddenly become ill. Bill's children then called Mary's sisters, who also rushed to the hospital. Mary's illness had progressed within a matter of hours, probably even by the minute. And just hours later, Mary had been moved to the ICU and was coding. Mary then coded 3 times. She was in and out of consciousness, and it was truly a horrific sight for her family that were in the room. The hospital could not figure out what was wrong with Mary, a woman that was completely healthy hours ago. Specialists rushed in to do tests on Mary. No doctor had been able to determine what was wrong with her. In fact, Mary's doctors would say that they'd never seen anything like this in all of their years of practicing. Mary's family was huddled in the waiting room outside of her hospital bed, waiting for any update. The doctors came out and told the family that on June 22nd, 2015, Mary Yoder had died.
Your birthday.
My birthday.
What year?
2015.
Okay. That would have been nuts if it was like Kylie's
Yeah.
actual birthday.
I was born in 2015. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
She's a baby.
She's a baby.
It's a baby. So Mary's family was obviously distraught. It's a complete shock. How
Yeah.
could someone so healthy and active basically drop dead one day? Mary's body was sent to the medical examiner. As far as the examiner could tell, all that could be linked to Mary's death was that she had a high blood cell count and that her gallbladder was inflamed. And this could suggest an infection, probably something like colitis. So the medical examiner ruled that Mary had died of some kind of serious infection, but otherwise of, quote, natural causes. But Mary's sister, Shannon, was a nurse, and she had a few questions. She asked the medical examiner to do a toxicology test. The medical examiner agreed that they would do that for the family. In the meantime, Mary's family gathered to lay Mary Yoder to rest. The family could not help but notice that Bill was handling Mary's loss better than the family expected. At least better or differently than they were. And everyone handles grief differently, but the family said that Bill didn't seem to be the grieving husband that they expected. The medical examiner does an autopsy on Mary and discovers that all of Mary's organs were actually an unusual color. And this was something that they had never seen. After running the toxicology tests on Mary's blood, Mary Yoder tested positive for the very last drug on the list. Mary Yoder tested positive for colchicine. Colchicine is mainly used to treat a form of arthritis or gout, but in high enough doses, colchicine is very toxic. But Mary didn't have arthritis or gout. And I'm sure that the first thought is that Mary may have accidentally ingested or accidentally took too much. It's possible there was no foul play. She works at a chiropractic clinic, and maybe she had access to this medication all the time. Now we have to figure out why Mary had this in her system. In the meantime, Mary's sister contacted a detective within the sheriff's office named Robert Nelson and asked Robert to get involved to help determine if there was foul play involved. The detective started with less sinister options, maybe an accident, maybe the supplements that Mary was taking. Because they knew that Mary took many different supplements, the detective started looking into them to see if any of them had been contaminated. So Adam and his ex-girlfriend Katie gathered up all of Mary's supplements to have them sent for testing. Police get the supplements back, and none of them tested positive for the presence of colchicine. Police also look into the possibility that Mary could have gotten poisoned from being exposed to a plant called autumn crocus. I think that's how you say that. And this is a plant where colchicine comes from. And Mary is an active gardener, remember? So they think maybe it's possible she was exposed to it and possibly ate it, thinking that it was a non-poisonous plant, because this plant can easily be mistaken for wild garlic, apparently.
Mhm.
So the detective goes out to Mary's house, collects her plants, and finds that Mary did not have any of this in her garden. Detectives then start exploring the possibility that Mary meant to ingest the colchicine. For it to be lethal, a person of Mary's size would have to take about 40 to 60 pills at once. Detectives start talking to Mary's friends and family and ask if there was anything that would have led them to believe that Mary would do something like this to herself. Of course, detectives discovered that Mary was happy. She had no history of mental health issues, no attempts of suicide. Detectives have ruled out accident and suicide, so they're left with homicide. Someone had poisoned this 60-year-old wife and mother.
I have a question.
Yes.
I mean, chiropractors can't prescribe medicine, right? Like, so she wouldn't have this available in the office.
I think that this might have been something that she would have had access to.
Okay. Is it
I
like,
don't know why, but it'll kind of explain later that this is something that she could have ordered.
okay.
Some of Mary's sisters came to investigators and offered them a place to start. Mary's husband, Bill. Mary's sisters tell police that if Bill did it, you'll never catch him because he's brilliant. And if he's found a way to poison his wife, he will definitely find a way to cover it up. And of course, detectives are going to start with Bill anyway. He's the person that's closest to Mary. And as we know, poisoning is kind of a personal way to kill someone. And more times than not, when there's poisoning, a lot of times it comes from a spouse. The sisters tell the detectives that before Mary and Bill were married, Bill came to Mary and said that he wanted to make sure that she knew that their future marriage would be an open one. Mary told her sisters that she told Bill no. If he wanted to marry her, he would have to commit to being with only her. Bill came back to Mary and told her that he'd thought about it and he was willing to commit. But the sisters also went on to say that Bill would take many weekends to himself. Not to mention, the sisters claimed that Bill seemed very unemotional after Mary's death. And they thought that Bill had cremated Mary extremely quickly before they even knew what Mary died of and had her phone turned off. But the sisters were not ready to accuse Bill of something so terrible without evidence. But they believed that Bill had another more sinister side to him.
I'm not gonna lie. Anytime you hear of a quick cremation, that is like huge red flags,
Yeah.
especially in a suspicious death. Like that right away is nuts.
Yeah, if something like that happened to my family member, I mean, I think that I probably would not even let that happen remotely
No,
quickly, you know?
especially since it was a medical case.
Yeah,
Like they needed, yeah, that's just red flags.
yeah.
We can have a
So,
memorial, but we need answers before the body gets
exactly,
buried. Yeah.
Mhm.
exactly. Police look into Bill and they discover that Bill didn't really have a lot of money to inherit, and the couple owned the business together. But other than that, Mary didn't have some huge life insurance policy. So, what would be his motive? Police called Bill in for an interview, and apparently Bill was very cooperative. He gave police permission to search the couple's chiropractic clinic, and they discovered that Bill had a new girlfriend.
Shocker.
Now, this is after Mary's death, but the woman just so happened to be Mary's own sister.
Stop it.
Yeah. So Mary has four sisters, and three of them were the ones that came to police and were like, hey, we think it could be Bill. And this fourth sister, they don't speak to anymore.
The,
Obviously.
the one that
Yeah.
he's dating.
The one he's dating.
Okay. So kind of not surprised.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, surprised, but
Yes.
that's
Weird.
shitty. Yeah.
So Mary's sisters were obviously skeptical about this new relationship, and they were skeptical that this was happening before Mary's death. Bill keeps saying that, it happened after, and they're not quite so sure about that. And Bill tells the detectives that he did not cheat on his wife. Police get a hold of Bill's phone records and confirm that Bill didn't start calling or texting this new woman until after Mary was dead. Bill explains that the sister and him just bonded over losing Mary and comforted each other. In
Mm.
fact, the sister had lost her husband a few years prior, and I guess she just kind of like understood the situation, maybe. I mean, that doesn't really mean anything just because he wasn't calling and texting her to me, but that's just a little key piece of evidence. But the sisters stood firm. Obviously, the other three sisters stood firm that they thought the relationship was going on since before their sister's death, but they couldn't prove it. If police could not find something on Bill, there wouldn't be any leads. But the case would crack wide open when the police were mailed an anonymous letter. And I'm going to go ahead and read the letter for you because it's got some wild stuff in it.
The police were sent this letter?
Yes, the police were mailed this anonymous letter. The letter stated, "Please forward this to acting investigators. I know police are currently looking into this death, but I don't know where to send this information. This is in regards to the July 22nd, 2015 death of Mary Yoder in New York. If the toxin colchicine is found, Adam Yoder, her son, is responsible. He told me he did it, and moreover, he told me how and where he put the rest of the toxin." It was already odd that Adam drove back so early after the death of his mother, arriving in Utica around 6:30 a.m., meaning that he left Long Island and then went back north in the middle of the night, especially since he'd been so standoffish and just mean to her, telling her he functioned better by not seeing or talking to her. He felt she was so unfair to him, and he resented that she should have helped him more. When I saw him a couple days ago, he appeared agitated and said he was the reason for her death and wished he could take it back. Then he said he got a bottle of colchicine off online and put the toxin in one of her vitamins when he was over at his parents' house. He said that his mom noticed he had seemed disturbed at the time, and she thought it was since he was drinking at their house. Adam said he told her no, the beer was not the reason he was disturbed, and to drop it. He said he apologized to his parents for ruining the Father's Day and left. Adam was upset people weren't paying more attention to him. He felt he deserved more attention and thought people'd be nicer to him. He acted resentful and belligerent to his immediate family and became visibly irritated. People keep talking about his mom. He says he expected a financial payout after her death, which did not come. After he found out he was not getting the money he thought he would, he said he regretted doing what he did, was hysterical, and he said he didn't know what he was going to do, but he had ideas. He said now the colchicine container is under the front seat passenger side of his Jeep. That's where he said it was until he figures out what to do with it or dispose of it next. I asked him to show me where he kept it currently, and he said no, but he described that it is in a small glass bottle. He has a black Jeep Wrangler 1991 model. He lives in blank, it's redacted, and attends SUNY Polytech in New York. I am sending this anonymously because I cannot keep this information. It is right to alert authorities, but it is hard to do, and I fear attaching my name to this information right now. I am close to him, but what he did was wrong, and I believe he could be capable of repeating this type of act. To add credibility to this, Mary Yoder got sick 2 days before she passed away suddenly. The cause of her death was not released, and initial medical exam records were inconclusive, but now I suspect colchicine poisoning from her son. And her symptoms were sudden onset abdominal pain, nausea, and diarrhea. She was admitted Tuesday to the hospital and died Wednesday afternoon after repeated failed attempts to restart her heart. Adam's monetary concerns are suspect because he is struggling financially and supported somewhat by his parents' assistance. Colchicine is a very specific name, and the name of the toxin found in Mary Yoder was not released. So if they are the same one, it is not a coincidence. After he relayed me this information about where the specific toxin is and undecided details, I feel it is necessary for appropriate authorities to pursue this. End quote. Sorry, that was a lot, but
That was very detailed.
Yeah.
Very detailed.
What do we? Yeah, this makes me, the way that it's like sounding too, knowing the information and stuff, it automatically makes me think it's a girl or partner of some sort.
The girlfriend at the
Interesting.
clinic.
Yeah. That's what I was
Okay.
thinking too. That was
I
my
feel
guess
like-
as well.
Y'all are
Mhm.
smart.
I feel like if someone confessed a murder to me, I would be in such shock I wouldn't remember any of those details.
Mm-mm, not at all.
Yeah. Police are thinking the same thing. They think that this letter is weird and way too specific. Unsurprisingly, this shifted the investigation, and police turned to Adam Yoder, Mary's 25-year-old son. Adam had no criminal history, but Katie's family would tell Dateline 2020 that they knew Adam really well. He came to their house every day and spent a lot of time with them. Katie's family always thought that there was something off about Adam. He would never make eye contact with them, and he seemed very detached and quiet. Katie's sister said that Katie and Adam broke up because Adam was constantly up and down, and Katie'd had enough of his inconsistency. Katie's parents and her twin sisters told their sister Katie that they felt like something was off with Adam. He would talk down about his family, and they couldn't figure out why because they thought that Bill and Mary were really sweet people like most everyone else did. Police believe the motive would have been financial gain and whatever arguments that he had with his mother. Police decide to interview Adam. They want to ask him to drive to the police station in his vehicle because the letter had said that this colchicine bottle was in his front seat. So police are hoping that it's still there if that's true. To the police's surprise, Adam shows up driving the 1991 black Jeep. They show Adam the letter they received, and Adam acted like he was in complete shock, and police ask him if they can search his truck. Adam is skeptical at first, but after some convincing, Adam gives the investigators permission to look in his car. Police open the passenger side door and look under the seat and pull out a glass bottle of colchicine. It was wrapped in cardboard.
Or someone setting him up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Because why would you drive the vehicle with
with the bottle?
The bottle in there to the police station to do your interview.
And then allow them to search it.
Yeah.
Unaware that it's in the car.
Yeah. After searching some more, police find a receipt for the drug. Police notice that on the receipt was an email address, Adam Yoder 1990 at gmail.com, and Adam's name. Of course, Adam claims he'd never seen the colchicine before in his life and kept insisting someone was setting him up. Surprisingly, the police did not arrest Adam that day. Adam claims that he was 300 miles away visiting his sister on the day that his mother got sick. Police confirm this, but this doesn't mean that Adam couldn't have devised a plan for Mary to ingest the poison. Investigators interview Adam's cousin, David King, who told police that since Mary had died, Adam's life was falling apart. He was dropping college classes, he stayed in bed all day, and started drinking a lot. He even confided in his cousin that he was suicidal. The cousin didn't know that Adam was a suspect in his mother's death. He found out while the police were interviewing him, and he seemed stunned. They asked if he thought that Adam was capable of doing something like this, and the cousin, David, felt strongly that Adam could never do this. But later on, David would not be so sure. Police asked ex-girlfriend Katie Conley to come in for an interview. They want to ask her about Adam. Katie was surprised to know that there was even an investigation, but she wanted to help any way that she could. Police start by asking about Bill and Mary's relationship. Katie tells the investigators that Bill and Mary seemed like they were the complete opposite. Bill was more reserved and Mary was more friendly with patients. Police then start asking about her relationship with Adam. Katie tells the investigators that her and Adam were just like on again, off again. They were still texted a lot. She said that Adam had not been himself lately, and he had been acting quite strange. They straight out asked Katie, "Did you write this letter?" Yes, Katie confessed that she wrote the letter. Katie confirms everything in the letter was told to her by Adam. She said that she was afraid of Adam, so she didn't feel like she could come forward. And if Adam figured out that she wrote the letter, he would hurt her. Police tell Katie that they can protect her, but the police have a different opinion. They believe that whoever wrote the letter was the killer. So in the same interview, they start pushing Katie, asking her questions like if she wanted to see Adam get in trouble. Katie starts to get very upset. She said that Adam already threatened to frame her. Of course, police don't have anything to charge Katie with, and just like Adam, they let her go. They find that Katie was with Mary at the office the day that Mary was poisoned. Mary had ingested the colchicine around lunch. And there's like a little kitchen in the back office where employees would like sit and have lunch, just kind of like a break room. And police theorized that Katie could have had time to slip the poison into Mary's food or drinks while she was seeing patients. They also found out that Adam's computer was never used to log into this email. And also the password for this email, Adam is gay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wait, how
Okay.
they can figure out the passwords to emails?
I guess.
Yeah. You can go, I mean, on my computer, you have the passwords for everything.
Oh, that's true.
On your iPhone, there's a place where all your passwords are listed.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They found out that this was the password. So
That
Adam's
sucks.
yeah. So
Mm,
Adam's computer had never been logged into this email before, but Katie's computer had.
mm.
And not just from Katie's office computer, but also her home computer. They also found out that Katie had been searching up the word colchicine on her phone.
It's not a good look, Katie.
No.
Yeah, not a good look.
Also, to even buy this colchicine, the company required that the person who's buying it state what it's being used for, and they had to like have the authority to buy it because it was so toxic. So after the order was placed, a sales rep from this company called the office and spoke to Katie. The sales rep said that she would need some documentation to approve this purchase. A few days later, that letter with a tax ID number and the stated intended purpose of this colchicine was sent to the company. And the intended purpose was stated to, quote, study plant life. The letter had been stamped with a signature from Mary. So, like one of those little like stamps, you know, that you stamp people's signature on like a bunch of documents at once. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not Mary's signature, it's a stamp.
Mhm.
And the signature stamp would be found in Katie's desk. Had 22-year-old Katie Conley killed her ex-boyfriend's mother? And why? Police couldn't understand what motive Katie would have to kill Mary Yoder. She and Adam had broken up, but she still worked at Mary's office and had a good relationship with her. She wouldn't profit any money. Now, knowing about Katie's computer, police call Katie back in for another interview, and they confront her with this evidence. Katie keeps telling investigators that she didn't do this and would not admit to anything. She kept pointing at Adam. She pled with investigators to believe that she was being framed. Investigators questioned Katie for 8 hours. Then police allow Katie to go home with her mom and dad. Katie Conley's father would later say that they took Katie home that night and he asked his daughter if she killed Mary. As he suspected, Katie replied that she would never hurt her. She loved her. Even Mary Yoder's sisters didn't believe that Katie could do anything like this. So Mary's sisters start calling the sheriff's office, pleading with them that they've made a mistake. They asked them to consider the possibility that Katie was being framed. However, the grand jury did believe that there was enough evidence to charge Katie Conley, and she was charged with second-degree murder. The trial of Katie Conley was packed, as the prosecutor began the trial by calling up Mary's patients from the day she was poisoned. The patients in the morning testified that Mary was her usual talkative, happy self. And the patients that saw Mary after lunch told the jury that Mary was different and seemed like she was unwell. Katie was the only one at the office with Mary that day, the prosecutor explained, and she was the only one that could have poisoned Mary. Bill Yoder was called to the stand to tell the jury about Mary's last terrible moments when she was in agony lying in her hospital bed. The prosecution did this to clear any suspicion that Bill was involved. Of course, the prosecution brought up the evidence they had against Katie, that she confessed to writing the letter, the searches on her work and home computer. A sales rep for the company came in and testified that when they sold the colchicine and called the clinic, they spoke to a young woman about ordering it who sounded young. In addition, the colchicine that was purchased with a prepaid credit card, and in the second interview, Katie admitted to buying those cards. She had bought a prepaid MasterCard from the supermarket, and it was the same card used to buy the poison. Finally, after testing the bottle of colchicine in Adam's car, investigators find that there was no DNA of Adam's on the bottle, only the DNA of Katie Conley.
Well, slam dunk.
Yeah. The prosecution had presented a motive by this time. They claimed that this was Katie's manipulation to create these events to get Adam back. She wanted Adam vulnerable, and she would be his shoulder to cry on. But when that didn't work and police started to question Mary's death, Katie decided to throw Adam under the bus by writing this anonymous letter. Adam takes a stand and tells the jury that he actually did call Katie the night his mother went to the hospital after his mother had passed. And he got back together with Katie, and Katie was there for him and helped him while he was grieving the death of his mother. But when they had broken up again, Katie had decided to frame him for the death.
Wait, we think she intended to kill her or just wanted to make her sick so she could be there for Adam?
I don't know. That's a really good question.
Did I don't know if I missed it or not, but did they find out how she ingested it?
They didn't find out how she ingested it, but I think that,
It's got to be like in a drink or something, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it could have been in a drink, or I mean, the anonymous letter said that it was put in her supplements.
yeah,
Like a powder supplement, and you just like empty them or crush them up in there.
dude, that's
Yeah.
nuts.
And actually, I did watch a documentary about this that said that she ate the same thing for lunch every day, and it was like a powdered protein smoothie for lunch, like a thing. So I think that's possible. They don't ever figure out exactly how she ingested it, but they know that it was like all at once, and they think that it had something to do with her supplements. Because that is an interesting question. Didn't think about that, like if she just intended to get her really sick. And I don't know.
Who knows?
I mean, we won't know.
Yeah. So the prosecution claims that this pretty 22-year-old girl had a side that they didn't know, a diabolical side, and she had killed Mary Yoder. So then the defense comes along, and the defense has another motive in mind. Katie Conley's attorneys claim that Katie is being framed. This comes after finding out who Bill's new girlfriend was. To the surprise of the courtroom, all three sisters show up. Not four, but three sisters show up, and they sit behind Katie Conley in support of her innocence. And the defense claims that Bill is the real killer. The defense calls Bill and Mary's neighbor to the stand, and the neighbor has some tea because this neighbor claims that she saw Bill and Kathy, which is the other sister, kissing on the front porch before Mary's death. Bill takes the stand and says that he was not in the office the day that Mary was poisoned. But the defense kind of goes back and forth claiming like, well, there's lots of times where people don't know that he's in the office. Like there's lots of times where he just slips in and out like the back door. And so that just because patients don't know he's in the office doesn't mean that he wasn't there. So they also talk about Bill having access to everybody's work computer and that he could have looked it up on Katie's computer. But also, if you remember, there's searches on Katie's home computer too.
And her cell phone?
So in her cell phone, so that doesn't really work. The prosecution comes back to that, and they claim that the prosecution hasn't proven that these searches didn't occur after Mary's death. So
Shouldn't there be timestamps?
I don't know. That's just what is talked about in court. So they kind of sit there and claim that, maybe she was looking them up after the death, being like, oh, what is colchicine? If somebody was poisoned, you'd look it up. As far as Katie's DNA being found on the colchicine bottle, the defense says that this makes sense because Katie, as the office manager, handled every package that came in and out of the office. To that point, though, they only say that Katie's DNA is the only DNA found on the bottle. So I mean, at least that's the only thing that they put out there. So you would think that, like, yeah, her DNA might be on the bottle, but if somebody else poisoned her, theirs would be on there too, right? Do you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If she handled it, it came in and was mailed to the office, her DNA would be on it, but then, it goes to somebody else's desk, like Bill's DNA would be on it too. So Katie's is the only DNA on there is the problem.
Another problem is she admitted to buying the prepaid credit cards that were used to purchase them. Like,
Right.
you can't
Yeah.
pin that on Bill.
Yep. So the defense claims that Katie did all of this so that Adam would come back to her. It took the jury days to weigh the evidence against Katie, but on the fifth day, the jury would come in and hand the judge a note that said, hung jury, no verdict. I also want to point out that I don't know why, and I should have looked this up a little bit more, but at some point, Bill was offered immunity in this case.
In exchange for what? Like, what would
Yeah.
he have even be charged
I don't
with?
know.
Was he? Yeah, like it's always immunity in exchange for information.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously he had something against her to like give to the police. I don't know.
I guess. But I will say that I found that weird and I meant to look it up. But anyway, so yeah, he can't really be charged. He took the stand, and the defense's theory is that Bill did it, but Bill can't even be charged for it. So hung jury, no verdict. 5 months later, everyone regroups in the same courthouse for the retrial of Katie Conley. And Katie has a new defense attorney. And this attorney claims that the killer was not actually Bill, but Adam. So not a big shock there. But Adam was trying to frame Katie. The defense claims that everything in the letter was true, and it was Adam looking up everything on Katie's phone because he controlled all of her electronics. Adam's cousin, David, took the stand in Katie's defense. David told the jury that Adam had Katie's computer before the murder, so it was possible that he looked up colchicine on her computer, and that Adam had full reign of his mom and dad's office, so he could have like ordered it, gotten on the computers, yada yada. The defense also claims that Adam was controlling of Katie and was actually abusive. A year prior, Katie had filed a police report accusing Adam of rape. The defense read a text message that Katie wrote to Adam. You grabbed my right wrist and said you'd break my wrist and snap every one of my fingers. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you, Katie. The way you said it, the way you looked at me. You said it and I was afraid. Adam denied the rape ever happened, and Katie ended up dropping the complaint. Adam actually takes the stand and basically sums this up. He claims that he had hit Katie one time and he regretted it. He said he did not order the colchicine, and he said that he did not even remember the night of the supposed rape because he had been drinking, and it was not until 3 months later that Katie even accused him of the rape. Adam actually claims that in the beginning, their relationship had been really good. They talked about a future together, getting married, having kids, etc. But then they began to fight a lot. It was when Adam started to pull away from Katie that Katie would always come up with a manipulating scenario where Adam would stay. On one occasion, Katie hooked up with Adam's friend just to get back at him after a bad argument. Another time, Katie told Adam that she had a miscarriage with his child. After that, Adam stopped dating anyone and got back together with Katie. But it turned out that this was a lie. And then the most recent time that Adam had broken up with Katie, he found out Katie reported this rape to the police and he claimed that this was another lie to manipulate him. After this, Adam claimed that he was done and wanted nothing more to do with her. Adam had a surprise for the jury. He claimed that Katie had actually poisoned him as well. During his final exams, Katie had given Adam a bottle of supplements called Alpha Brain. She claimed that they would help Adam concentrate for his upcoming tests. She told him to make sure that he took them consistently, because that's how they work. After taking them, Adam had to check himself into a hospital because he was so sick. He was vomiting and had severe abdominal pain, just like the symptoms of Mary Yoder. Police collected the pills and found the pill bottle originally had 30 tablets and now only had 29. Adam claimed he had taken 2 of those pills. So one of them didn't belong in the bottle. It was like an extra pill. The remaining pills were tested, but no colchicine was detected. In addition, the prosecution had found more incriminating evidence on Katie's phone. And this is like weird how this happened. So they didn't like do another search on Katie's phone or her computer, but I guess that Adam didn't know that Katie had plugged her phone into his computer and it like backed up to his computer. So he later on finds out that there's all of these like things off of Katie's phone. And so he turns those in. So like we have even more evidence now coming back for the second trial. We find that Katie had researched colchicine, but she had also been looking up arsenic, cyanide, Valium. So she's looking up all these like possible poisons. The second search of this phone shows all this deleted stuff, like her looking up world's most dangerous toxins. And there was actually a picture drawn of like a woman with standing next to a man, and it had like a sword in the man's back, and it was titled The Breakup. I don't know. Weird. I don't know. And then there's also like screenshots where Katie had hacked into Adam's Facebook page and was like blocking random people. This is kind of the nail in the coffin because they find out that all this stuff was prior to the death of Mary.
She's just been crazy the whole time.
Yeah. The jury returned to the jury room, and on day 2, the jury would come out again and hand the judge a note. Hung jury.
Again?
So, yeah.
This is crazy.
This is so easy.
Yeah.
I know. The judge then like addresses the jury, and maybe this is normal, I don't know, but the judge like addresses the jury and is like, please go back and try to find an answer for us. The jury does that, and they come back and they find that Katie Conley is not guilty of second-degree murder. However, they do find her guilty of manslaughter, and Katie Conley is sentenced to 23 years. where she is serving her time at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility in Westchester County, New York. She'll be eligible for parole in 2037. Mary Yoder's sisters still support Katie, and they keep fighting for Katie's appeals. Mary's daughters are relieved that the trial is over, and they feel like they got some justice for their mother.
Why do the sisters still support Katie?
I don't
Do
know.
they just hate Bill?
I think they're really against Bill. And also they have the dynamic of like he's now seeing their sister and they hate that.
It is weird, but wouldn't it make me overlook evidence?
Yeah. They see Bill, I think. I mean, obviously I don't know, but I think that they see Bill as like this very smart figure that could get away with it if he wanted. And they still believe the narrative that Bill is framing Katie and she's innocent and that, you know, he did all of this on her work computer and
This would be a lot, though.
it would be a
Like-
lot.
Bill is a smart man, but he's also old.
Yeah,
What about the fingerprints?
I know.
Prepaid cards. Like, I feel like the woman, they said they talked to her.
I know. I watched parts of the trial and they went back and forth saying like, well, Mary has a young voice. She's, you know, sounds like a young woman. It could have been Mary. And I don't know. I don't think that she would have approved that medicine for no reason out of her office. It's just,
No.
it's far-fetched, but the sisters still believe that it was Bill. And
Wow.
they have like a petition to sign for Katie and Facebook pages and all kinds of stuff. And they're still pushing for her and she'll be eligible for parole in 2037. So
What's Katie's last name?
Conley. And if you look her up, she looks completely normal, like a sweet little girl. But we know that don't mean nothing.
I've seen her picture in court before.
Yeah.
Oh, free Katie Conley. Caitlin Conley.
Yeah.
Wrongful conviction. Wow. Interesting. She is a normal looking person, but like obviously you can't play anything about that.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Wow. Good story.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And that's the story of the murder of Mary Yoder. Do you guys want to jump into overtime?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's jump on him.
I have some educational information for you all.
Ooh, do tell.
share.
So I did one of the cemetery tours in New Orleans, and you guys know like they bury everyone above ground.
Yeah.
Yes.
They'll just float up.
Freaky.
So maybe I'm stupid, but I thought each like crypt was one person,
Oh, no.
but they're families.
yeah.
I mean, some
Or
of them
multiples.
aren't
Yeah.
that big, but
What? I'm confused. What are you saying?
the like tombs,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's not like one person in each. It's like a whole family.
Holly, they're
Mhm.
huge for one person.
Some of them aren't that big.
It's like a
some
mansion.
some people have a whole tiny chapel as their like memorial. So you're telling me there's multiple people in those big old boxes?
Well, the big ones, yeah, but some of them, let me pull up a picture.
How do they just stack them in there?
So here's what they do.
I thought there was one. I don't like that at all.
What I figured out, which I think is gross and why I don't want to be buried in there anymore. After a person dies and you're going to be buried in the church, so a family will buy one of these and only certain people like listed in the will can be buried in there. You do not get embalmed or cremated. They'll put your body in there and you go through natural cremation. The inside of those little tombs gets so hot in the sun, it gets up to like 300 degrees, but it takes almost a whole year for your body to cremate.
But
That's
you're
sick.
but you're cremating yourself.
Yes, slowly, like over a year. Like you're being like in a freaking crock pot.
I mean,
Yeah,
you're saving
slow
money.
roasting. You're slow roasting.
Yeah, but
Slow
you're already
roast.
dead. You're already dead.
That's true. But then here's the thing.
Well, yeah,
If-
but still, that's just, I don't know, to think about you're walking around out there and there's just all these people in a cooker
Slow.
oven. I hate that.
In a crock pot, just
in a crock pot. So then you can have multiple people in there, right? And then someone dies. They'll just put your body on top of the others'
Yeah.
remains.
Do you not
There's
open
no-
those things and they're just smell terrible and you put another like
I mean,
Probably.
I assume it's just like you can't just go and open and see somebody's body. You're like,
No, I know, but if you have to
No.
put another body in there.
yeah, like a worker does.
Ugh, it's
Yeah,
disgusting.
they have like marble doors. Like they have to like disassemble like the front
Yeah, yeah.
to put another body in there. But the church, because it's all controlled by like the Catholic Church, really, if more than one person dies, like in the family in a year, one person has to go into the wall
What do you mean?
because they only allow one person in there to decompose at a time, and they won't open it again for a year and a day. It's like a church rule because they don't want to like open it up on like the anniversary of putting the body in there.
What do you mean they go into the wall?
There's literally like a
A
brick
shift, a little shift in between?
there's a brick wall and it has like little ones in the wall and they roast faster in the wall.
I hate this.
I'm like into this. Holly's like, absolutely not. It's a slow cooker. I'm like, it makes sense, but that's so gross. So, like, you have one of your giant tombs. Let's
Mhm.
say your husband dies, he gets put in there. You end up dying 2 months later. Ooh, can't bury you at the same time. You can't be put on top of him. So instead, they're going to put you in the wall of the tomb
No,
until
no,
the year's up.
no, the wall of the cemetery, around the cemetery.
Oh, so they're putting you in one of those little, yeah, okay, okay. That makes more sense. People, I mean, it's not a wall, but at Catholic churches, they have an area where your cremation parts go into the wall.
No,
Mm-mm,
so
but
this one, it's a wall around the cemetery, like a fence. And if you look at like the bottom row, you know how like part of it's like cut off, like it looks like half a tomb?
Yeah.
That's because New Orleans is sinking. We found out 3 inches every 10 years. So
Uh-huh.
there's more. This wall goes deeper and
Underneath.
deeper, but it's in the
Mm.
ground and those bodies are stuck in there.
get out of town.
It was gross.
No,
If you
shut the
guys,
hell.
if
I
you
hate
guys
this.
could see the picture right now of the wall, it's a brick wall that looks like a medieval, like you're trying to keep people out of your town kind of thing. And it's bricks, but it's graves in the
Is that what a
wall.
mausoleum is? You had
No,
No, no, because a mausoleum's like a big.
I've heard that word before.
It's a mausoleum. A mausoleum is where you'll put a casket in a mausoleum. But then if
Mhm.
you open the door to the mausoleum, there'll be caskets or cremation boxes of a family. It's like a full, you can walk in and
Oh,
around.
okay.
You don't. That's not a thing that people should do. You don't do that, but you can.
yeah, like you can go inside a mausoleum.
Yeah, yeah.
Hold on, there's like one.
These, if you open them up, they're dead bodies. This is
This,
why New Orleans has the biggest ghosts and spirits and everything. Yeah, that's some weird stuff.
I don't like that at all.
it's kind of gross.
So, how do you guys feel about the rapper drama going on?
I don't know anything about
BBL
that.
Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. All right. Well,
No, I always thought Drake is a little weird.
Okay,
I like
yeah.
his
tell
music.
tell it for the listeners because I assure you
Well, it's just
probably the
there's like
listeners
too
don't
much for
know.
me to even know. There's like
Okay, well, who's it between?
okay, Drake and Kendrick Lamar, I think are like the two main suspects. And then
Okay, and before you say anything else, vote. Are you Drake or Kendrick Lamar? I don't know anything about what's
Kendrick
going
Lamar.
on, and I'm a Kendrick Lamar fan.
Kendrick
Yeah,
Lamar.
me too.
Okay, and
I
Cameron would say the same.
yeah. And then I think Kendrick's got all these little friends that also hate Drake. It's like, but they're all rappers, you know, Metro Boomin,
Yeah.
J. Cole. I don't know where they all fall, but just like all these rappers. And so they're going,
Everybody hates Drake right now.
yeah, everybody hates
Okay.
Drake.
So that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And they're just releasing Kendrick Lamar and Drake are just releasing songs back and forth like diss tracks.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is like Nicki Minaj, Megan Thee Stallion 2.0.
Yeah. That's why I had to bring it up because we talked
But
about
a
that.
little bit more intense, right? Because isn't there
Yeah.
multiple things?
Yeah. And apparently yesterday there was a shooting at Drake's house in Toronto. Is it Toronto, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not good.
But they
His
clarified that obviously if it was Drake, you would have heard, you know, you would have heard about it. But when it first happened, I got in there and I was like, I got on the news and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Drake. And then they said, no, it's not Drake. But I think that there was rumors that it was someone in his security detail. So
yeah, it's a security guard. Kendrick was on the song and then he like dissed Drake and J. Cole. And then
Not J. Cole.
J. Cole released a diss track and then I guess realized he would have to fight Kendrick Lamar and apologize and basically backed out.
Yeah.
So then Drake sent like a cease and desist for the song.
Not a cease and desist.
And
Oh,
so
Drake's a
Kendrick,
little bitch then, you know?
yeah, so then Kendrick got mad and started dropping all these diss tracks. And then Drake finally, like back to back, and then Drake finally released one, and Kendrick released like the most scathing one, like addressed to his son, like telling him all about how his
Not
dad
Adonis.
and how Drake has another hidden kid and all this stuff. And he released it
It's
like
probably true.
30 minutes after Drake released his. So like
Yeah.
he's got like spies in the Drake organization.
Yo, Kendrick's like an OG. And I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
I'm a big J. Cole fan too. So, shout out North Carolina. Not the BBL.
Not the
And
BBL.
Say it, Holly. You got it, girl.
And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Over My Dead Pod. If you want even more information about the cases, like pictures and links, you can go to overmydeadpod.com. Be sure to follow us on social media at overmydeadpod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and the like. All right, bye.
We'll see you next
Bye.
week for another episode. See ya.